I'm sure many of you must have heard this creepy pasta about a cursed mango that kills people. But what if there was an even creepier update to this story? Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be reading a creepy pasta about a girl who finds a glowing mango. Legends spoke of their incredible taste, so exquisite that it could make your wildest fantasies come true. But there was a catch. It was said that these wild mangoes were guarded by spirits, making them nearly impossible to harvest. Many had tried, but none had ever returned with the fruit. And those who ventured too deep into the jungle never returned at all. Its leaves rustled violently, forming a wall of green around her. Gone were the familiar sights and sounds of the market. All that surrounded her now was an impenetrable wall of green. Panic surged through her as she realized she was lost. Fear threatened to consume her, but Sarah pressed on, pushing through the dense foliage until she finally reached the radiant mango. As she plucked it from the branch, the glow intensified, bathing the clearing in an otherworldly light. Smoke curled from its chimney, hinting at the possibility of help. Summoning her last reserves of strength, she staggered towards the hut. An old woman emerged, her eyes crinkled with wisdom. It feeds on despair, growing stronger with each wish it grants. Armed with the old woman's guidance and her own unwavering determination, she ventured back into the heart of the jungle. The clearing where she had first encountered the mango tree was now shrouded in an unnatural mist. As she ventured back to the mango tree, she realized that the true test of courage lay not in seeking the mango's power, but in facing the consequences of her actions. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to check out more content like this. If you'd like to hear more stories like this, stay tuned for more content. Thanks for watching. The pain in her arm had vanished, replaced by an unsettling numbness. Groaning, she pushed herself up. The wild mango may have granted her wish, but she had incurred a debt that would forever bind her to the spirit of the jungle. And as the days passed and the seasons changed, creeping dread took root in Sarah's heart, a premonition that the spirit's debt would soon come due. A noble wish, it said, but the price, the price is always steep. Before Sarah could respond, a searing pain shot through her arm, the spot where she had touched the mango tree. She cried out, stumbling back. Sarah's grandmother clutched her tightly, her eyes filled with a mixture of gratitude and fear. "Beware, child," she whispered urgently. "The price has been paid, but the debt is not settled. Spirit may yet come calling. If you are to use its power, you must be cautious." Recognizing the wild mango in Sarah's hand, she led her inside. The spirit, with its insatiable hunger for despair, began to make its presence felt once again. The jungle around the village stirred with an unnatural energy. Strange whispers carried on the wind, and the boundaries between the physical world and the spirit realm seemed to blur. If you enjoy creepy pastas, then stick around for more. Taking a deep breath, Sarah approached the tree. Its presence was overwhelming, its power palpable. And as she reached out to touch the glowing bark, a voice echoed in her mind, rich, deep, and utterly captivating. The woman listened patiently, her gaze fixed on the glowing fruit. This was the moment she had been preparing for. Yet the immensity of the choice before her was daunting. She thought of her grandmother's ailing form, the pain and suffering she had endured. Could this be the solution? When Sarah finished her story, the old woman reached out, her touch surprisingly strong. Taking the wild mango, she examined it closely, tracing the strange patterns on its surface. Now, 16 years old and armed with nothing but a machete and her wits, Sarah ventured into the heart of the jungle market. It is a spirit fruit, one that can grant wishes, but at a terrible cost. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. Could this be the answer she'd been seeking? But the old woman's next words brought her crashing back to reality. The jungle around her came alive with unfamiliar sounds, the rustle of unseen creatures, the croaking of strange frogs. Every shadow seemed to hold a threat. And as the full moon rose high in the night sky, an eerie silence fell over the forest, broken only by the sound of her own ragged breathing. Hours passed and the jungle market seemed endless. Just as Sarah began to lose hope, she spotted a glimmer of sunlight filtering through the thick canopy above. She whirled around, her heart pounding in her chest, searching for the source of the noise. She was trapped in a nightmare of her own making. Then as quickly as they appeared, the creatures vanished back into the shadows. When the sun finally peeked through the canopy, Sarah's terror turned to despair. She had spent the entire night battling unseen forces, and the mango, the very reason for her ordeal, remained a mystery. Then she saw them, glowing eyes peering at her from the darkness. More creatures emerged, their forms indistinct, yet their eyes gleaming with an otherworldly light. With renewed determination, she hacked away at the vines and foliage, until she found herself in a clearing bathed in golden light. This story comes from a Reddit user. Her body bore the scars of her ordeal, scratches and bruises, a testament to her desperate struggle for survival. Yet the mango remained unchanged, its skin unblemished, its glow unwavering. Just when her resolve was at its breaking point, a glimmer of hope appeared. So as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the village, a young girl named Sarah decided to take a walk through the jungle market. The vibrant colors of the exotic fruits and the chatter of local vendors filled the air. But today, Sarah had a specific mission in mind. She was looking for a special fruit, one that her grandmother had requested, a rare wild mango. Overjoyed, Sarah rushed to pick the finest fruit, but as she reached out, the mango seemed to glow with an eerie green light. Startled, she pulled back her hand, and that's when she noticed something strange. The glow wasn't coming from the fruit itself. It was emanating from the tree. The entire tree was enveloped in a faint green glow, as if some otherworldly energy surged through its branches. Wild mangoes were not your ordinary fruit. They grew deep within the untouched parts of the jungle, far from the cultivated fields. Undeterred by the stories, Sarah's grandmother had fallen ill, and only the unique flavor of the wild mango could save her. And there in the center stood a majestic mango tree laden with ripe, juicy mangoes. Trembling with a mixture of fear and excitement, Sarah took a step closer, and the tree seemed to sense her presence. With the mango in her possession, Sarah turned to leave, but the jungle around her had vanished. As darkness descended, Sarah's fear turned to terror. Suddenly, the silence was shattered. Low growl reverberated through the trees, sending shivers down Sarah's spine. Fear paralyzed Sarah. She couldn't scream, couldn't move. Days turned into nights, and Sarah's hope began to dwindle. One day, deep in the labyrinth of the jungle, Sarah stumbled upon a small hut. As the aroma of herbs and spices filled her senses, Sarah recounted her harrowing tale to the old woman. "This is no ordinary fruit," she finally spoke, her voice raspy with age. "The spirit bound to this fruit is malevolent," she continued, her eyes filled with concern. After regaining her strength, Sarah prepared for her final confrontation with the entity within the mango. And there before her, the mango tree stood bathed in an ethereal glow, beckoning her forward. "What is it that you desire?" it boomed. Sarah hesitated. "I want to heal my grandmother," she declared, her voice echoing through the clearing. The pain intensified, spreading through her body like wildfire. As she stumbled back to the village, memories of her ordeal flooded back. However, a chill wind suddenly swept through the village, causing the villagers to fall silent. Sarah shivered, realizing the truth in her grandmother's words. Then one fateful night, as the full moon hung heavy in the sky, Sarah's fears were realized. Sarah, now bearing the burden of her bargain, knew that she must confront the spirit once more. So there we have it, folks. What did you think of this creepypasta? Let me know in the comments section below.